Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm going to be doing a book review of Aurora by Stanley Robinson. This book was first published in 2015, so it's fairly recent, and this edition is published by Orbit. This is a science fiction book. It is classed as hard science fiction to do with the fact that it contains quite a lot of technical information, and it's one that I greatly enjoyed. So first of all, I'll give a quick plot synopsis. The idea of the book is actually relatively simple. The overall idea is, although obviously the execution is a bit more complex, it is about a generation ship which is heading from Earth to Tau Ceti. A generation ship means that is a ship where the original crew who volunteer for it are not the ones to get off on the other end. This voyage will take 170-ish years roughly, so obviously people can't live that long, even in this future world, so it will be their great-grandchildren or some such like that who actually end up finally getting there. It is a colonization effort from Earth to inhabit new worlds, because the Earth in this book is getting way overpopulated, and everybody thinks that the way to solve the problem of overpopulation essentially is to colonize other worlds, and then once the smaller initial crew, which is obviously what this is, go there and build up the basic infrastructure and such and see if it's okay, then larger colonization ships can go along and bring massive amounts of people there, and this will greatly even up populations and generally improve living conditions and quality of life back on Earth. The plot of the book starts when the ship is at the very end of its journey. It's only got a short amount of time before it finally drops out of its super fast speed and actually gets into reaching the planet, and then obviously the people on the ship can then go on the planet and start colonization, that sort of thing, which is what they originally planned to do, well, or at least their ancestors planned to do. And the book follows a set of characters, and one of the characters being the ship's computer, which is almost an AI. It's not a proper AI, but it's close enough to one, frankly. And throughout the book, obviously, this computer or series of interlinked computers almost develops into a fully sentient AI. And frankly, that's your viewpoint as a reader, is through the ship and its sort of semi-sentient view. And it's a curious one. And frankly, you really get to like this computer, or this AI as it is, and it's just a really curious view, and one that just really works quite well. And frankly, it's one of the highlights of the book. Overall, the book is about the journey, their arrival, and what this idea of colonization of another world means to both them and indeed the people back on Earth. Because the people back on Earth, they have sent this ship out, which is this great big massive ship worth an enormous amount of money at the time, to this other world, but it's going to take them 170-ish years, so that they have no effect for them for a long time. So society and indeed the big problems that they have to do with population and such, they're still going to continue, and indeed still going to continue to get worse. Whilst on the other hand, this ship is just going along in a straight line, pretty much at like a tenth of the speed of light, I think it is, and all they've got to do is just keep doing what they are doing, make sure food is grown and all the ship systems are working. And obviously they've got to keep educated, because of course the original people who volunteer to be the crew members, they are mostly highly qualified professionals, sort of astronauts and scientists and such. Obviously their children aren't necessarily, they're just normal people essentially who happen to have parents who have volunteered for something like this, and then they are expected to essentially take up the mantle that their parents have started, which questions and brings up some interesting points, because it's a case of, is this something that people, not back on Earth, is it something that we as a species should do, and is it something that we morally should do? Because yes, it may seem like a good idea to us because we are possibly solving our own problems, albeit with a bit of a Delilah 170 years, but for the people on the ship, for the descendants of this crew, is he right for them? Because we're basically forcing them to live on this ship an enormous amount of time away from Earth. They will not really be realistically be able to get back, and they don't have a choice about it. They've just got to deal with the situation as best they can. They've got to live on this ship with each other. They know they've got to procreate as well, so it's a case of you've also got to sort of forcibly thinking, hang on, we need to have children as well. So it's a bit of a weird situation to be in, frankly, and one that Kim Stanley Robinson does in a lot of his books. He thinks up big social issues of the day, and then he questions them and puts them in situations, obviously science fiction type settings, where you as the reader, and indeed him as the writer, can question what it means, how you can get the answer, and the moral and political ramifications of these situations. What do they mean, both on a very small scale, to each individual person, because obviously it follows the individual crew members around, so you get to learn from a very personal viewpoint, but you also get to see it from a larger viewpoint as well, from the very delayed transitions to and from Earth, and what this means to Earth, what it means to the ship, and all the cross talk between all the different parties. This book is set in the same universe as his Mars trilogy, or at least as far as I'm aware it is. You never are told that it is set in it though, but several things are mentioned in this book that are directly to do with the Mars trilogy. From what I can tell, it mentions a city on Mercury called Terminator, and the way it describes the city, albeit briefly, is exactly like it is in the Mars trilogy. Mars is described slightly differently, but it is set hundreds of years after the events of the Mars trilogy. So the Mars trilogy is now history, basically, in this book, which I think is an interesting thought. I mean, I read the Mars trilogy first, so reading this afterwards is an interesting mix, because I know what my thoughts are on the Mars trilogy, which are, by the way, very positive. I love the Mars trilogy. So having this put in the Mars trilogy as a past event, as a sort of relatively minor sort of footnote of history, is frankly brilliant. I really like the fact that it just makes the Mars trilogy sort of fairly insignificant by comparison, when actually the Mars trilogy is probably one of Kim Stanley Robinson's biggest and most well-known books. I mean, it's won several awards. This is not as good as the Mars trilogy, frankly. I mean, it would be extremely difficult to live up to the Mars trilogy, because that was absolutely fantastic. But it is really quite good, and it still has those same big, grand ideas, which are still very thoughtfully thought about, and indeed he questions them in the same way, and frankly, it makes for a very interesting book overall, and one that I greatly enjoyed reading, and I would greatly recommend overall. He makes other points as well about society and such, but I'm not going to go into them, because frankly, there are certain things I would have missed, I know that for sure, but also there are things that you as a reader should experience yourself, because frankly I wouldn't have appreciated some of the things in this book being told to me. It's best if you explore the book and learn about them yourself, because that's just, in this case, much better, frankly, much more fun. Can I point out though, one flaw of this book is that the main characters never make sensible decisions, essentially. The psychology of the characters is a bit off in some ways, which is surprising, because obviously they are stuck in this ship, so you'd expect Kim Stanley Robinson to have really focused really heavily on the psychology of the characters and their interactions, and indeed their decision-making processes and why they're doing these things. But he seems to have sort of dropped the ball slightly on this particular effect, or at least to my mind he has anyway, because the characters just don't do things that you would expect them to do. Not just, regardless of the situation, they just don't act like you would expect normal people to act in certain ways, and it's just a slightly bit off-putting in some ways, but it's only a minor thing, and frankly it doesn't deter or detract from the book in any great way. It's a minor point on a otherwise extremely good, thoughtful and well written book, frankly. So overall, this is a really good book with really thoughtful ideas which are extremely well written. It has interesting characters despite a few rough flaws. The science is pretty much accurate from what I know of it, obviously. I'm not that advanced with my knowledge of certain scientific principles, so I can't say for sure. The overall big ideas it follows are, yet again, for Kim Stanley Robinson, really interesting and really grand in scope and scale. And frankly, I would greatly recommend this to science fiction fans, and obviously, as well as fans of Kim Stanley Robinson. If you've read the Mars trilogy, then you will definitely want to read this, because this goes in a slightly different way, but it does benefit from knowing the Mars trilogy. And I'm greatly appreciative of the fact that I've read the Mars trilogy and now read this, because it gives it a certain something extra, which I don't think you might always get. So I really do like the fact I've read this book, and yeah, I'll rate this book highly in the future. This will be one of my sort of long time favourites. Short term, it's not an easy one to like directly, but over time I think it will grow on you, and it's just generally a brilliant book, frankly, which I would recommend. So with that said, that's it for this review. If you've read Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson, or you would like to, then please leave a comment and we can have a discussion. As always, all my social media links, as well as links to anything else that is appropriate, if I do a written review, which I'm not sure about yet, that will be linked in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.